Hi guys, what's up and welcome to this week's video. So this week I will be reviewing the Sony Xperia 1.6, which is Sony's latest flagship phone. So the phone just came out a month ago and Sony are highlighting its camera and video camera to be one of the best on any mobile phone. So let's get straight into the review. So let's firstly talk about the design and display. So with this phone, when you unbox the product, all you get is the phone. There is not a single wire included or anything else. I got the 256GB version with 12GB RAM in the color white. The white color is not as white, it looks like a very light muted gray, quite lightweight. It only weighs 192 grams and the thickness is 8.2 millimeters. So the phone looks pretty good. It has rounded edges. It also has a textured matte back, so holding it does add some sort of friction, which doesn't make it as slippery in the hand. You have three buttons on the right: the volume buttons, the power button, which also doubles as a fingerprint scanner, and a dedicated camera button to take pictures. And this phone also has a headphone jack, which is very rare to see on a phone in 2024. The power button is a bit more sunken in than the other buttons, which doesn't make it as nice to press sometimes because you really have to get in there. The SIM card slot also features a micro SD card slot, which means that you can expand your storage should you need to. The phone has a fairly large screen of 6.5 inches and also the bezels are quite thin. So overall, I do like the display. You have three cameras at the back: a 48 megapixels main camera, a 12 megapixels telephoto camera, which can zoom from 85 millimeters to 170 millimeters. And you also have a 12 megapixels ultra wide camera. For the selfie cam, you have a 12 megapixels front camera. So when I first turned the phone on, the screen resolution does have a good amount of clarity. However, it is not quite 4K because the resolution is 1080 by 2340 pixels. But like I said, the display still looks pretty sharp and has a good amount of vibrancy, which makes watching videos, scrolling through articles, just scrolling on social media a good experience overall. Also, because this has a 120 Hz refresh rate, the motion is really smooth, and overall I did like using the phone and I wouldn't really complain about the lack of a 4K screen. One thing that I personally don't really like about the build of this phone too much is the way the screen is fitted into the phone. There are these very tiny gaps around the edges and I feel like little particles of dust or whatever can get in those because I can kind of put my nail in those gaps. So it's not like a very unibody design. Now let's talk about the interface. For the first time in the Xperia 1 series, the Xperia 1.6 features a vapor chamber cooler to optimize the overall performance, which is powered by the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 mobile platform. It runs Android 14, which is generally pretty good. I also noticed that it's also quite good in picking up 5G signal because I had the same SIM card, but I put it in different phones, and this phone is actually pretty good in picking up 5G. You also have the feature of Side Sense, which is kind of similar to Samsung's sidebar, where if you swipe from the right, it kind of brings up a little menu where you can access quick shortcuts and also go on to further settings. So now let's talk about the battery life and sound quality. So this phone claims to have a 2-day battery life. The battery size is 5000 milliamp hours, and I put it to the test to see if it would actually last 2 days, and it didn't last 2 days for me when I used the phone extensively. But if you use your phone in a very minimal way, so you're not on your phone a lot, then it could potentially last 2 days. So practically using it, I would say that the battery life of this phone is very good compared to other phones. If it actually makes the 2-day mark is debatable, but it is a lot better than some of the other phones out there. Also, when you put the phone on charge, it charges fairly quickly. I was also pleasantly surprised by the sound quality of the phone. The sound is clear and well-bodied, and it's fairly loud as well. Now let's talk about the extra features on this phone. You have basic things like the night light feature, which basically filters out blue light to help you sleep better. So the phone comes with COD Warzone pre-installed and also a game enhancer. So if you are into mobile phone gaming, that could be interesting for you. Also, there's the Creators app, which basically lets you connect your phone to your Sony cameras. So this feature can be useful if you are on bigger sets where you want to use your phone to control the camera. Otherwise, I usually just find it easier doing it on the camera. You also have apps like Video Creator and Music Pro. So whatever your artistic abilities are, there is an app for that. And I personally didn't find myself using these apps too much because I already have my setup, for example, for phone videos and also for longer form videos. Okay, so now let's talk about the cameras on this phone. So you can record a wide variety of frame rates. You've got 24, 30, 60 and 120, and you can also record in different resolutions. So you have HD, Full HD and also 4K. So there's a good variety and mix over there. overall, the camera does take good pictures. You have the bokeh mode, which also works quite well. You have the pro mode, you have macro shots, panorama, that kind of stuff. So overall, the pictures do look good. However, I feel like they lack a little bit in detail, and that's because by default, the camera is on 12 megapixels, and there's a special mode in which you can record 48 megapixels, and that setting is the one that I really like. But also generally, I feel like the camera just lacks that extra X factor, you know, to make photos really stand out. Also, I feel like the vibrancy is a bit down, or maybe I'm just used to using Samsung, and I feel like Samsung cameras add a bit more vibrancy, so there's less post-production that you have to do when it comes to photos. I feel like other phones, when you take pictures, are a bit more vibrant and brighter, whereas this kind of captures it as it is, and not even always as it is, a bit more toned down in color, I feel like. But to make up for that, I have noticed that the post-production editing techniques of photos in this phone are actually pretty good. So maybe it's just there as a very raw format so that you can adjust it to your liking. The optical zoom also works quite well, and overall it's a pretty good phone camera. There's not much to complain about it, but I do feel like, for example, Samsung phone cameras are slightly better because they add that extra vibrancy, that extra detail that I feel was lacking in this Sony phone camera. So what is my overall verdict of this phone? Overall, I think it's a pretty good phone. It's fast, reliable, it works well, the screen is decent, the cameras are generally pretty good. However, I don't feel like this phone offers anything extra or anything special that makes you want to buy it over other phones. Yes, the battery life is good and it is slightly on the cheaper side, but I still feel like it could have been a bit more cheaper, given that it doesn't have a 4K screen and it doesn't really have any amazing features that would differentiate it from other phones on the market. Like, share and subscribe to my channel for more product reviews and other lifestyle related videos, and I will see you in my next video. So until then, take care.